I'm FW Willis, owner guy at Mama Crockett Cider Donuts. Started a food truck that was a shack, a wooden shack that I built by hand. And that was shaved ice. We did that through the summer, and then at the end of the year decided this is cool, the whole food truck thing. How about donuts? And that's where Mama Crockett's came from. It started with a camper trailer, and that became part of the whole brand, and just snowballed it from there. When you are a maker, you look at a set of raw materials and you apply some creativity, some ingenuity, a little bit of witchcraft maybe, and you make something out of nothing, essentially. I was super broke, couldn't afford to pay to make things happen. So with my two hands, I bought a log from the sawmill that I split by hand to turn into a bunch of like really cool handmade wooden shingles. And I bought some scrap lumber from the same sawmill. Material cost was like a few $100s. Labor wise, like long time, a lot of work out in the backyard. And then we got the cheapest machine we could, like a plastic toy thing from Amazon basically to shave ice, but I knew we could sell it. And we made enough money with that to buy a real machine and then like incrementally from there. But the point is if you're a maker, you have time and creativity, but you don't have money. And you can convert that time and creativity into money as you begin to develop your idea into a business. And then when your business develops into a company, now you're taking money and applying that to solve problems like I can't be in two places at the same time. So some of this money that I've earned from the time and creativity is now being converted into a job for someone else. You just kind of keep applying that same problem solving, looking at a situation, saying, well, what are the raw materials that are available to me? As your business develops, one of those raw materials might be money, but it might not. And you just kind of continue making something out of nothing, and you find good people. I've been very fortunate in that regard. Yeah. Honestly, I didn't ever think that we would do a store. I was kind of just interested in continuing the trucks, but it was one of those things where you have like bad problems and good problems. The good problem was that we kept having to rent more space to store trucks because we were doing more business. And I kind of got to thinking, well, wouldn't it be more convenient if we could have everything like together in one spot? And then if we're like paying for our own place instead of like a storage rental facility, we're just keep putting that money back into like our own asset instead of just handing it to someone else. And if we're going to be doing that and we have a building to store all of our stuff and whatnot, then at that point, why wouldn't we just put a shop like, up in the front part, and so that we could like have one more place to sell donuts? So it was much more like a shrewd kind of calculated decision than like a big like, we're trying to open the best donut shop in the world, type of thing. So we're looking all over, and this wound up being the one that we landed on, I'm gonna be honest, because it was super cheap. And there's a good reason, because it was basically brick walls and nothing else. Actually, a lot of other stuff that we had to get out first. Once the trigger was pulled on the property, that's where it kicked in, like, okay, now, what are we gonna make of this? I thought of it as like a vibe. I know it sounds like kind of frou-frou, but that's just how I picture things in general. Like, what's the experience gonna be? What's the feel of it? What's the attitude? Like all of that kind of stuff. And I know what I want that to be. So what like physical manifestation of this space would be most conducive to that? And then that's just kind of the vision I'm going off of in my head. And from there, it's just a lot of like getting your hands dirty and ripping into stuff. And that's the dirty secret of how I get things accomplished is that there's not often a really well fleshed out plan. It's a lot of like, we're gonna figure this out as we go. Very quickly, I realized just how rich and vibrant the cultural history was of the property, of this entire neighborhood, of the 5th Street corridor. And I felt extremely privileged to become a part of that, sort of like grafted into that heritage in a sense. I think it's been cooler to have people come in and say, oh, I remember this when I was a kid. This was the silver plating place, and my mom used to always come down here and drop stuff off, and it's so neat to see it was boarded up for so long. Those are cool stories. But it's also cool to think about like what this space was in here. This portion of the building actually used to be a barber shop. When 5th Street was kind of like the hub of the African American economic community, it was sort of like the other downtown, the other main street, right? And it's cool to see some of those like physical relics from that era coming back to life, because it's been too long that these places have been overlooked, and to be a part of that is really cool.